how are you doing? My name is Jason White, and I'm doing my speech over Nelson Mandela. Can you imagine living with racial segregation? Can you imagine what it'd be like for it to be illegal to work as a sharecropper just because of your race? Can you imagine not being able to live where you want to live just because you're black? Do you think that it would be fair to separate whites from non-whites? Would you be willing to go to prison for 27 years just because you promoted something that you strongly believed in, just for promoting freedom and equality? What lengths would you go to just to support something that you felt so strongly about? Would you be willing to go to prison for 27 years and spend the rest of your life in prison just trying to make this world a better place? Would you be willing to suffer and give up the life that you have now? Not long ago, I was hearing something on the news about Nelson Mandela, a man that had died and that the world had lost a huge peacemaker. This news made me want to research and know more about this man, Nelson Mandela, who he was and why his death made so many headlines in the news. I learned that Mandela stood up for democracy, equality, and learning after the Great Depression and World War II in South Africa. He fought against segregation and changed South Africa by promoting freedom and equality for all people, regardless their color. His life was an inspiration to many people who were oppressed and deprived. He brought hope to all of those who were against oppression and deprivation. Mandela did not support the apartheid government that ruled South Africa, and he became active in politics during his college years. White minority banned the African National Congress, known as the ANC, in South Africa, so Mandela secretly went to Tanzania looking for support against apartheid. He was charged with leaving South Africa illegally and charged for helping workers to strike. He was convicted and given a 5-year sentence. In 1944, Mandela helped the ANC Youth League become politically involved with the organization while he was in college. In 1963, he was charged for involvement with ANC and Community Party. He was facing the death penalty and told the court, "I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the idea of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and achieve. But if it needs to be, it is an idea for which I am prepared to die." Mandela was sentenced life in prison and served 27 years for his fight against apartheid. In 1990, he was released from prison and became active again in politics. In 1991, he became president of the ANC and was aggressively wanting to end white minority rule in South Africa. He jointly won the Nobel Prize in 1993 and voted for the first time. After being freed 4 years later, he became the first black president in South Africa. It was at this time that a close friend of his remarked that Mandela was a symbol of forgiveness and reconciliation. Finally, racial segregation came to an end. Nelson explained his life when he said, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we will lead." Mandela's life ended earlier this month in Johannesburg at the age of 95, and he was honored with pageantry and people celebrating his life and struggle against apartheid. There were big crowds celebrating, which was much different from how things were in the days of apartheid. Mandela grew up in South Africa and was laid to rest at a grave site in the village where he had grew up. People remembered Mandela because he was a symbol of freedom and equality. We will remember him because he was a symbol of peace and social justice all over the world. We will remember Nelson Mandela for his stand against apartheid and because he was a symbol of forgiveness and reconciliation. The president of Tanzania called him a leader, icon, and father of Tanzania, as to much he was to South Africa. To close, let us never forget the world's biggest peacemaker who helped to end apartheid. May we all be thankful for his support in human rights. He taught the world so much about how to treat other people and became known so much for going to prison for 27 years just because something he had strongly believed in. Nelson Mandela's life ended, but his legacy will live on for showing the world how to forgive and how to reconcile and being the supporter of peace and social justice all over the world.